Good evening and salutations, my Jade fans. You know, when I sit there and I think about today's episode and just the scope of it as a whole, I just wonder, like, how did they do this show? And like, they put in so many characters. I say this all the time that if I was to recommend watching this episode, it's like you need a glass of wine just to there's just so many goddamn things going on all at once. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was Sitwell, right? Because in the beginning, I was just like, oh, so Sitwell just walking around, just dandy, just going to, I was about to sit there and say Kelly's, but going to Bobby's and just going to these restaurants and just be like, oh, okay, cool, I'm just totally free. Now, the thing is, I feel like this might be a retcon. I'm not too sure, but I could have swore the last time that he was somewhere, they actually put out a warrant for his arrest. I could have swore they did that. So Jordan, Alexis, and Christina are talking, and it's nothing super majorly important. I mean, they're talking about the whole Cody thing and everything else, and they see Lucy and they see Sitwell, and they're just like, well, Jordan looks at him, and I didn't know if she remembered who Sitwell was, but when she went to Laura and told her that Sitwell was, at the bar, just kind of hanging out. Laura was like, oh, so he just kind of just running around free, like everything's just all good and good. Because, the whole Warren thing that I could have swore I remember seeing. But after she got off the phone to like Interpol and some other people, whatever, apparently this guy does not have any warrants. He might be a person of interest, but like, he is free and in the clear. So I'm like, I mean, maybe it's just me. But I do watch all four soap operas, and every now and then I can get some details wrong. But I could have swore that this man had a warrant for his arrest. Apparently not. I thought it was BS that Lucky got hauled down to the station, um, for breaking up a fight. Because usually in these situations, and I know it's a soap opera, but usually in these situations, if a cop comes in and hear a report about a fight and everything like that, they're going to sit there and take a look at both, people. Cody did not have a mark on him, right? This isn't a case of, oh, well, they were both brawling or whatever, so it was like, listen, we're taking you both downtown. Lucky clearly had the brunt of this incident. So my whole thing is like, why are you bringing him down to the station? I feel like this is a more of a matter of, I don't know, maybe the set was being used for somebody else, so they just had to sit there and have Lucky and Liz there, because, like, that's the only thing that makes sense to me. Anyway, they briefly talk about Cody, and then they, get back on their theory about Cyrus and everything. And at some point, they want to talk to Felicia, which they just threw Felicia in here to pretty much reiterate the same story that Jocelyn, and I think Lucky, asked her about before. So I'm kind of just like, why are we going over why are we going over the same story? Like, what's, I get it to some extent, like, maybe she might remember more, but it just seemed like this seems kind of pointless, if we're going to be honest. At the same level, it's like, we just heard this. Now, Matt goes and visits Cody. And Cody is just acting like a dick at this point. Molly's like, hey, listen, they're not going to press charges as long as you pay for the damages. Oh, well, I don't have any money, so, and, you're a very boring person, just like, Part of me just looks at this whole thing and I'm like, bro, you are a little bit too old to be practically getting into a temper tantrum because things in life isn't going your way. And when Matt comes in, Matt, he apologizes, he feels bad, remorseful, that, he disappointed him. And even Maxie is still worried about him. I don't know how, I think even if Spinelli tells him, like, hey, listen, why don't you just actually try to blackmail me again about that ish that went on in the past? I'm pretty sure she's still going to sit there and be worried about him. And part of me was just looking at this like, it's kind of, on one hand, it's kind of annoying because it's like, bro, you have a string of bad luck. Things happen, and I get that, and that sucks. But, like, throwing a little temper tantrum and getting into a fight and doing this with Drew and everything, like, this is just so stupid and annoying and unnecessary. But at the same time, although I don't condone what Cody did, and I think that was a very dickish move, I get how part of me wants to sit there and not give him a pass, but at least understand, like, you F up in life. You F up in life, you get drunk, you get mad, and you do some stupid ass. It doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad person. And I know people are getting so sick and tired of me saying that, but I'm trying to get over the fact that it's just so annoying watching him just throw a temper tantrum. Like, he effed up. It could have been worse. Maybe if he apologized to Lucky for acting like a dick, I won't fully hold it against him. I'm pretty sure, Lucky threw a temper tantrum and messed up his family's diner because he felt like he couldn't help. I think that maybe on some level Lucky would understand, although he's not going to be a fan of using his face as a target practice. Um, Ava comes to see Laura, and Laura pretty much says that she's not going to testify on her behalf because, she's kind of forgiven Sonny. They have too much history. They have family together and stuff like that. And she just doesn't want to really kind of rock the boat on their relationship. And so Ava is mad, but she doesn't necessarily show it until she gets a call from Rick. Now, Rick finds her actually a decent sized apartment. Like, this apartment is not really bad, but Ava is just in a very pissy mood. So, like, she's like, oh, this thing is kind of small. And Rick is like, yo, listen, this is going to help you in your custody case. Like, this is going to help you in your custody case. Like, living at a home is a lot better to the judge than living at a hotel. She gets all mad and stuff like that. And eventually, at this point, Rick is like, you know what, I'm just going to let you stew because, like, you've been just giving me all attitude and sass. And I'm trying to do this for you. And I'm damn near doing this for free at this point because it's not like you paid me, my money and stuff like that. But she does kind of break down and she's like, listen, she tells about the whole Laura situation. And Rick is like, oh, I'm on your side. I got you and stuff. And then he kisses Ava. And I feel like that's kind of a creep move. Like, that she's kind of vulnerable and stuff like that. And you start kissing on her and stuff like that, like just to get your little jollies off. And she kisses him and she kind of just stops and, she thanks him or whatever. But it's like, I don't know. I'm like, bro, you really didn't need to sit there and take it there. You know. Lucy is still sitting there talking to Sitwell, introducing him to Poor Charles Finest with Christina and Jordan and everyone else. And she even sets up a meeting with Laura. Laura gets the message or whatever, and she calls Sitwell. And she's like, all right, let's sit there and meet up or whatever. I guess, a fishing expedition or whatever. Because let's be honest, he doesn't have any warrants, so it's not like she can really do anything. And I think the only thing that she's going to do from what I saw tomorrow is just basically say, we don't want you in town. I mean, seeing what Sitwell did do to her son, yeah, she's definitely going to be pissed off. So when Natalia's sitting there staying with Sonny, Brick comes over. And Sonny tells Brick about his heart condition. So what Brick does is Brick sets him up with a cardiologist in LA. Because at this point he's like, yo, listen, this is gonna be the last time that you have this incident. Um and Sonny's worried about here's the thing, Sonny is worried about keeping this under wraps because of his business, his enemies, and Ava. But what Sonny doesn't realize is that I'm like, bro, listen, if you have another heart attack and you die or you're in the hospital or whatever, it's not going to matter. All this cloak and dagger BS is not going to really matter because you'll probably be dead at that point. Um, Christina's talking to Alexis, and one of the things she says is, that they're talking about the upcoming trial and everything, and Christina's like, oh, well, I'm going to sit there and keep Avery safe. I'm going to make sure that, Ava doesn't get custody of her. And I'm kind of just like, what, because Sonny is a much better option at this point? I'm kind of just like, bro, I'm like, sis, your brother got third degree burns, okay? He nearly died because he was in Sonny's apartment. Imagine if that was Avery. Like, I get it. You don't like Ava history and everything like that, especially the most recent event, right? But even with that being said, come on. Let's be honest. You don't want her by Ava, but you think that Sonny is a better option, given what happened to Michael. Like, this is the part where it's just like, all right, you just this is what happens. You sit there and you start thinking with emotions because she doesn't like Ava to a point where it's like, would she would have felt that same way if it was Avery? Would she have been like, oh well, Sonny's the better option? But your own brother should be an example of why Avery should be, at the very least, at least for the time being, with Ava. Um. Oh, and apparently Natalia's gonna sit there and go um, with Sonny after stopping by um, Charlie's. Yeah, I'm like Crimson. I'm like, there's so many damn different bars. I'm like, I was about to sit there and say Crimson Light, but after she stops over there to um, pretty much give Christina half truths about Sonny's condition, or Sonny, where Sonny's at, which I'm pretty sure Christina's probably going to be a little bit pissed off at Natalia for not telling her the whole truth when she knew. Part of me just looks at Natalia's storyline and I'm like, listen, I like the actress. I think the chick is fire, but I'm kind of just like, I guess they're gonna pair them up because otherwise I'm just like, what is Natalia actually doing here? Like, I don't get that part. You know, I mean, I, in a lot of ways, I felt like Blaze probably had more of an important role on the show than Natalia. If we're gonna keep it honest. But they need to sit there and put Sonny with someone. So I just kind of won out. And I was about to sit there and forget about Jocelyn. Which here's the thing: when Jocelyn talks to Lucas, Jocelyn admits that she effed up. Okay, she admits that she effed up. That Cyrus is onto her. That she made it that Cyrus is onto her, and Cyrus is going to sit there and cover his tracks a lot more. I'm glad she did actually, you know, have self awareness in that part. Now, here's the thing. Lucas tells Jocelyn his theory with Lucky and Elizabeth. He's like, hey, listen, if I tell you this, you gotta promise not to really sit there and do anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't be going off at him or anything like that. And, you know, he tells her his theory about how he's often patients and stuff like that. And now Jocelyn's like, all right, well, I'm gonna do something, or like she's gonna get involved. And Lucas pretty much kind of looks at her like, I just told you not to do anything. And Josh was like, well, it's genetics. And I'm getting to a point where Jocelyn is like, it's okay for you to sit there and be your own person. You don't have to constantly sit there and say, well, I'm my mother's daughter and stuff. It's like, we get it. We get it. For the longest time, the internet has sat there and said that, she is um, Carly Jr. Although people have actually mentioned that she is more like Jax in the sense of her judginess and things of that nature. Where I'm like, it's also okay for you to be your own character. You don't need to sit there and do a callback. Oh, I'm just like my mother. It's like we know who your mother is. We don't need to be reminded of that. I felt like that line wasn't just cringy. It just seemed so unnecessary. I feel like that's basically about it. For this episode at least. This episode was just, like I said, it was just kind of all over the place. Um, it wasn't a terrible episode. It wasn't a super great episode. Um, I was just telling Shakira that if we had to sit there and watch it, like if you're watching all four of them, it's a toss up between GH and Days. You can watch either one of them. They weren't super great, but they weren't terrible either. Um, I guess in a sense they was a little bit better than Y&R. So I don't. But I mean, sometimes Y&R the bar is actually pretty low. B&B, I don't know what the hell was I was actually watching. I feel like B&B is actually kind of torturing me in a sense with Cringe Fest Daphne, but again, that's for the people who watches Bone and Beautiful. Anyway, if I miss anything, write in the comment section or come to the live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I will be talking about all the shows, General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Bone and Beautiful, and Young and Restless. With that being said, I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next video.